All right. Welcome, everybody. Before we get started, those of you who are here in person, so glad you're here. And we are a small but mighty group. So it would be so helpful if all of you who are here in the pews can just magnify your singing and your energy and pretend that you are taking up a whole pew all by yourself with your spiritual energy and your singing. It will really help us to hear you and to feel your engagement. So we're all trying to fill this space, and you're a really key part. So thank you for doing that. And we'll start in very, very quickly here. We have about a minute till 7. Welcome, everybody. So good to see you, to be together on this sacred day, the most sacred day of the whole year. And it's a blessing. It's not everything we expected and hoped for as of, a couple months ago. And for those of you who are at home, we'll try as best as we can to be sending our energy your way and to be including those of you who are watching at home. But I'll tell you, it beats being in my living room, being my own tech, and having all of us in little Zoom boxes, so we're making progress, and it's great to be with you all here. So let's appreciate connecting with one another. Hineni, page 1. You got it.
We just had the kids' service and I was playing the other Hineni.
There's so many.
Here we go. La 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 la.
So as we open our sacred service intended to inspire us all to be better and to repair the damage that we may have caused, I want to take a moment to just start us off by acknowledging that many of us are either standing here today or streaming and receiving the stream from locations on the traditional lands of the Ohlone people. And as we acknowledge that, my intention and hope is that our prayer and our soul searching will honor their legacy and also be a small step in the repair that is needed for the history in this country of the sins against the first peoples of this land. I want to read for you a piece from a book that, if you could see, it is well loved. It is my favorite High Holy Day book. This is real, and you are completely unprepared. By Rabbi Alan Liu of blessed memory. So he writes here, "The path of transformation is long and it is arduous. We spend weeks and months peering into our hearts, feeling the heft of our shadow and the hurt in our soul. Then Kol Nidre comes, and it is finally time to speak of those thoughts and feelings that haunt us. Somewhere in the 25 hours of Yom Kippur, we must speak the shadow. We must speak it in private, and we must speak it in public. We must speak it to a friend or speak it to a stranger. We must speak it to a husband or a wife. We must speak it in the shadow language of our own heart, or speak it through the liturgy, the communal unburdening of the vidui, the confessional prayer we recite over and over again during these 24 hours. The Kol Nidre is calling to us. It is saying, speak the shadow. As much as you know is spread around you midnight to midnight, speak and let it go. Speak and be human. Speak and be healed." I'd like to call up the Schlipak Quo family to light candles. And the candles are here, the blessings on the podium, as we enter into this sacred day with light. Oh, yes, after. Yeah. Let's do it after that.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Yom Kippurim.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Page 2, the Shehechianu, blessing for new beginnings. And if you're viewing from home, you can actually add into the chat any new beginnings that are blessings for you in this moment.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu l'zman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'hegianu l'zman
We turn back to page 1 for Return Again.
Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return again, return again, return to the source of it all. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai elecha v'nachalecha.
to call up Julie to read for us Yom Kippur by Philip Schultz.
So I am pinch hitting for Kelly here. Is this? Okay. You are asked to stand and bow your head. Consider the harm you've caused, the respect you've withheld, the anger misspent, the fear spread, the earnestness displayed in the service of prestige and sensibility, all the callous, cruel, stubborn, joyless sins in your alphabet of woe, so that you may be forgiven. You are asked to believe in the spark of your divinity, in the purity of the words of your mouth and the memories of your heart. You are asked for this one day and one night to starve your body so your soul can feast on faith and adoration. You are asked to forgive the past and remember the dead, to gaze across the desert in your heart toward Jerusalem, to separate the sacred from the profane and be as numerous as the sands and the stars of heaven, to believe that no matter what you have done to yourself and others, morning will come and the mountain of night will fade. To believe for these few precious moments in the utter sweetness of your life, you are asked to bow your head and remain standing and say Amen.
I'd like to call up Liz and Eric, Merrill and James. Please rise as we prepare for Kol Nidre.
טובה בכל הון יחת רת נבהון כל הון יהון שרה שוויקים שוויתים בטלים ומבוטלים לשירים ולקיימים נדרנה לנדרי וסרנה לאסרי ושבועתנה Kol Nidre ve'esarei shewei v'haramei ve'konamei ve'kinusei ve'hinuyei Dindalna Udeishtabana Udeyaharina Udeyasana Al-Nafshatana Yom Kippurim Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu Leitova Leitova Behul Hon Yichat Rat Navehon Kol Hon Yehon Shara Shevikim Shevitin Betelin umevutalim Lashirin velakayamim Nidrana la nidre ve'esarana Esarei ushvuatana lashivu V'charame v'koname v'kinusei v'hinuyei din darna udei ishtabana udea harina udea sarna al nafshatana yom kippurim ad yom kippurim haba Bichatrat navehon kulhon yehon sharan shevikin shevitin metalin umevutalin Lashirin velakayamin nidrana Ushvuatana
Please remain standing. We turn to page 3 for the call to prayer, the Baruch. And we face east, which I believe is that way. So if you are here in person, face east. And if you're at home and you know which way east is, you can face eastward there too. seated. And we turn to page 4, and I invite you to look up and see these stained glass windows which have darkened even in the short time we've been together, reminding us of the cycles of day and night. All things will be renewed and all things begin and end. Page 4. Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round to morning, and from morning round to night. Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round to morning, and from morning round to night. Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round to morning, and from morning round to night. Round and round the earth is turning, turning always round to morning, and from morning round to night, and from morning round to night. Down at the bottom of page 4, the world we want to build is a world of love. Olam Chesed Yibaneh.
Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la la, ya la, ya la la. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la la, ya la, ya la la. Olam chesed yibaneh, ya la la.
So I'd like to call Lisa up to offer us words that some of us have heard before, but if you haven't, you're in for some moving testimony here about the Shema.
My grandmother was 27. She was holding a bag, and she was holding my mother, who was 2. It was 1942 in Piotrków Trybunalski, Poland. They were outside the gates of the glass factory where my grandparents were doing forced labor. My grandmother and my mother were on a firing squad line, about to be shot, with 4 other women and 1 other child. I return to that firing squad moment every time I hear the Shema, or say it, or watch my daughters say it. I return there because my grandmother said to me, "We were first in line to be shot." I had the Shema on my lips. But they started to shoot from the other end of the line. I dropped my bag, held on to Esther, and ran. She ran into an abandoned building and up to the 3rd floor where they spent the night. It's a long story. I'll jump ahead to say that my grandmother, Naja, lived for 50 more years and died between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in 1992. How much time do we have before we die? What will we do in that time? When my grandmother thought she had only seconds left, she began to speak the Shema. Why? Was it to pray? To use her last breath to reaffirm her connection to the universe? Or was it an act of defiance, of proudly affirming her identity as Jewish, as other, at the very moment she was being executed for being just that? Was it a goodbye, an acceptance of her imminent death? Or was it a staunch refusal of death? No, not yet. Was it all of those things at once? Did the words of the Shema somehow move from her lips to her feet? Did those words help her run? Did they help her hold on to her daughter? Did the Shema help her live that day and other days? Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. I know there's a lot of commentary about what those words mean. For me, they're about what it means to be alive in the face of death. They're about what we do with the time we have left, whether that's 5 decades or 5 seconds.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'd like to call Tasha up. In a moment, she's going to lead us in the Via Hafta. I'm going to get it ready for you over here, Tasha. And we'll, oh, great, that works too. All right, so we're going to engage in this practice of saying those words and holding that question of what we are, what will we do with the life that we're given? What will we do with that life, however long it may be? If you are wearing a talit, I invite you to gather all of the tzitzit, these tassels on the corners, into one hand, your right hand. Hold them all together. These are the commandments. There are 613 knots here. And when we hold them together, I think of just gathering the stray attention that may have wandered from this moment into the future, into the past, into other places. Just try to bring yourself present to this moment for the recitation of the Shema. And on this day, since it's Yom Kippur, we will also continue with chanting aloud the next line, Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed, which is only said aloud once a year, traditionally. On this day, usually we whisper that. So let's take a moment. We're going to give one breath for each of these words and let them really sink in. And again, that question, what we want to do with the one precious and wild life we are given.
Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Continuing.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך ובביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובסופך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך.
Thank you, Tasha. You can let go of your seat. We turn to page 6. Ozi v'zimrat Yah.
Ozi וזמרת Yah vayili Yeshua. Ozi וזמרת Yah vayili Yeshua.
Page 7, Say Shalom, a prayer for peace.
shalom. Uyase, 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 shalom. Uyase, 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 shalom. Alleluia. Here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down.
Not every sermon has a title, but this one does. Back to the Cave, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Season 2. Last year I told you the story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the rabbi in the cave, who with his son lived for 13 years in isolation to dodge a death sentence for criticizing the Roman government. It wasn't 13 straight years. There were 12 years at first, and then, after their first time out of the cave, they nearly destroyed the world. After so much isolation, days spent only in study and prayer, living on the barest rations of carob and water, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai saw the imperfections of his fellow humans more clearly than ever when he emerged. They seemed so misguided, so petty and superficial, forsaking the eternal life of spiritual enlightenment in order to appease their fleshly desires. His judgment became lethal. Laser beams shot out of his eyes, incinerating those that he disdained. A voice cried out from heaven, "Have you come out to destroy my world?" Actually, let me redo that voice. "Have you come out to destroy my world? Back to the cave!" So, he spent another 12 months waiting for his freedom, learning the hard way how to look at his fellow human beings with more compassion and less judgment. I suspect those last 12 months were harder than all the 12 years before them. For now, he had tasted freedom, remembered the fresh air and the light of day. Now he had had his chance and blown it. It's excruciating to go back to the cave. We should know. On this second online Yom Kippur, after several weeks expecting to be fully back in person, going backward is particularly challenging for those of us immersed in the American mythology of never-ending progress, the simple, linear storylines of growth and triumph over adversity. I know that since April of 2020, I've been hoisting up my spirit by imagining a clean, clear end to the pandemic, after which we would all have giant parties and lots of hugging and sharing of food, and the vaccine would come and we would be free and it would be all over. But it turns out that so much about life and the world is not linear, not unidirectional, not clear. We go forward, we slip back. We fix problems only to find that the solutions had horrible unintended consequences. We learn from our mistakes and then we make the same mistakes again and again. It turns out life isn't just a heroic one-way arc from bad to better. Anyone who has struggled with addiction or chronic medical conditions knows this. There are good days and bad days. Steps forward, stumbles back. Sometimes we try and fail. Sometimes we lose. Sometimes we make mistakes. The same mistakes, over and over. That's why we have Yom Kippur every year. Our ancestors knew that after 12 months of living, we'd surely need to confess that whole litany again. Shamnu, Bagadnu, every year, same list. Even if we tried to put it behind us last Yom Kippur, here we are again, confessing the same mistakes, learning the same lessons. We might hope that over a lifetime, a person can make slow progress, steps forward, overcoming the painful retreats. Indeed, Yom Kippur is a testimony not only to our capacity for repeating our errors, it also expresses a profound faith that we should keep trying, even when we seem to be returning again and again to our sins as much as our souls. Yom Kippur opens the possibility that a person can grow and heal, that we can reconcile with the people that we have harmed and choose better the next time, that we can strive for a radical freedom from past mistakes with effort and intention. It's not just going in circles, but growing in spirals. And when you think about it, we're not just in the same place we were a year ago. This Kol Nidre is way better than me in my living room. And our music team separated by Zoom into a series of sound solos, way better. And we got to be on the beach together for Rosh Hashanah, those of us who were able to come. And our kids are back in school, and reports are showing that our strong collective response actually reduced poverty in the United States over the past year during a time when we might well have kicked off a devastating depression. So we are learning. We are learning. Still, the path isn't as straight and simple as we would prefer. We began to exhale, lick our wounds, assess the damage, let go of that fear, and replenish ourselves with the joy of simple things, hugs, indoor basketball, traveling to see family. You name it, you have your own list. And now it's as if a voice from heaven cries out, "Back to the cave! You have not learned what this virus was here to teach you, O mortal humans. Here comes Delta." It's almost worse than if we just stayed there the whole time. I imagine myself as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai protesting this cruel turn of events. And just what is that? Just what am I supposed to learn? That I live in a country with a bunch of selfish, dangerous, ignorant jerks? That a whole lot of leaders have sold their souls for power and play games with human lives because they find it more popular than telling their dangerous followers the truth? Nope, not that. That was not the lesson, Shimon Bar Yochai. Well, then what? Expand your circle of concern, Rabbi Shimon. Leave no one behind. The health of each depends upon the well-being of all. Compassion for all, Rabbi Shimon. Same lesson as always. Just another iteration of that same old lesson. Compassion. Now back to that cave. And what is the particular flavor of compassion that we might learn in this moment? Last year, when we met Shimon Bar Yochai, I spoke about giving one another the benefit of the doubt, digging deep and finding compassion in this ragged time when we are all so stressed and depleted. This year, I see another angle as Delta does its damage. This virus seems perfectly designed to defeat us until we learn a particular collective form of compassion. We can't beat COVID or climate change or any other big global problem for that matter if we only react by protecting the people like us. We need to practice compassion in a much more ambitious way. COVID is teaching us the hard way. We are all connected, all of us, breathing the same air, part of living global systems we can scarcely comprehend. And now, Delta makes it clear it will not work to inoculate just the northern hemisphere and ignore the global south. Variants will endure and evolve and circulate until they overcome our vaccines and our boosters. To stop the disease, even out of pure self-interest, we must take care of everyone, no exceptions. And if we find, as we sadly do, that some secondary condition like ignorance or corruption or poverty stops people from getting the vaccine or staying home when they're sick, we must face and address those conditions as well. It's a longer road than we thought. And everyone, even me, everyone is cranky and exhausted. By now, we've burned through the rallying heroics of the first wave. Many more of us have suffered serious loss and mourned in strange isolation. Our bodies now cope with the accumulated toxicity of 18 months living under chronic, unrelenting threat, and we thought we were about to arrive. We'd seen the finish line and paced ourselves to make it there, and then we made it only to find that the marathon had been extended. And not just extended by some turn of bad luck. This marathon has been extended by a group of criminally irresponsible leaders who cultivate a distorted ideology of freedom with lethal consequence. It's enough to make a peace-loving liberal start to feel hate in her heart, which, of course, doesn't help. It sounds a lot like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai on his first time out. So we're back to that same cave curriculum. Expand your circle of concern, not just to the global south, my dear San Franciscans, but yes, also to Texas and Mississippi and Alabama and Florida, to the crazy uncle in the boonies watching Fox News. Hate and harsh judgment is not going to get them to take the vaccine or wear a mask. And hate in your heart is its own disease. Hate in your heart is its own disease, a variant of the very same condition that makes people unwilling to go out of their way to protect one another in the first place. Yes, I fear I might incinerate a few people if I had the gaze of Shimon Bar Yochai right now. Maybe I do need more time in the cave, learning compassion. Then again, I know for me, the harshest and most judgmental gaze is usually reserved not for others, but for myself. After all, who is the one with the best view of all of my many failings and mistakes? And in this extended crisis, there have been many. Locked in a house with my closest family, running Zoom school, and working a job more demanding than ever, surrounded by fear, day in and day out, separated from the connections that usually lift my spirit, I didn't always handle it from my highest place. That's for sure. My confession list this year is long. As always, there's a delicate balance on Yom Kippur. We name our mistakes out loud, but not as a way to punish ourselves with some harsh, burning judgment. In naming our failings, we give ourselves a chance to see them as separate from ourselves. These mistakes are not who we are or who we need to be in the future. They may be significant, but they are in the past. We name them in hopes of letting them go. When we can look at ourselves with compassion, even as we name our mistakes, we have a better chance of learning and doing better. If we want to move forward in that spiral and not just run around in circles, we won't get there by turning our harshest judgment in on ourselves. Imagine how Rabbi Shimon must have wrestled with that after he was ordered back to the cave. Not only did he have to find compassion in his heart for his fellow human beings, but ultimately also for himself, for the mistake that landed him in another year of isolation. I was listening recently to an interview with Sharon Salzberg, a well-known Buddhist teacher, who said, "A mind filled with shame cannot learn. It's natural to feel bad about our mistakes, and it's important not to make excuses when we should take responsibility. But when that crosses over into self-punishing judgment and shame, it's counterproductive. So, if you've made some mistakes in the past year, welcome to the club. If you have turned to some unhealthy coping strategies, hurt others around you, been unskillful with your words or actions, if you've not always been the responsible, generous, kind human that you aspire to be, you're in good company. Maybe you made a mistake you can't undo. Maybe you're stuck in some destructive patterns. Looking at yourself with compassion doesn't mean saying it's all okay. It just means finding a way to love yourself even if you're not perfect. And out of that loving place, to understand what went wrong, to encourage yourself to do what you can do to make it right, and then to let it go. To believe in yourself that you can do better, and to give yourself another chance. Past mistakes do not define you. When Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai finished his last 12 months in the cave, the people around him were still making mistakes. The world still needed a day of atonement once a year, and the list of sins was still just as long. But he had learned. He had learned from his difficult retreat to have compassion for even the sinners around him, and I believe even for himself, perhaps the hardest of all. In finding compassion, he was surely still not perfect, but he was still able to make himself a blessing to the world and not a curse. And that was his ticket out of the cave. Holy One, as we set aside this sacred day for making ourselves better people, may we be given the strength and patience to view our fellow human beings with compassion, no matter how much they may anger us. Cleanse our hearts of hatred and resentment. Help us to return to the kindest and best in ourselves. Teach us to hold ourselves responsible for our mistakes, even as we learn to love ourselves unconditionally. And may we soon learn what our difficult experiences have to teach us, that we might move forward into a year ahead of healing and repair. Amen. So in the name of healing, I'm going to call Rochelle, the chair of our Chesed committee, to come to the podium where she'll read the names from our healing list. And I think we have a new, fresh healing list, Rochelle, that maybe if you didn't print yours in the last day. All right. Page 8.
Cindy Schechter, Fred Avril, Jacqueline Campbell, Joel Rosen, Bruce Raines-Chow, Natalia Buffalo, Gail Rothman, Betsy Strasberg, Sean Ann Davis, Shelley Sarin, Kevin Steffens, Ishmael Quesada, Raz Edelson, Ebony and Vidal, Christina Gubeg-Mino, Alex Page Oske, Doug Hubert, Lou Fisher, Barbara Bernstein, Tony, David Howard, Pauline Shotton, Fred Goff, Susan Shu, Stan Goldberg, Vishal Bal Salman Vihudat, Jeff Balch, Simon Brimwood, Brandy Jackson, Powell Hauser, Kevin Shaw, Ellen Jones, Aidan Pastor, Dennis Collins, Marty Schwartz, Charles Small, Gary Cohn, Tyra Trudell, Bajan Blue, Bachese, George, Judy Bush, Dahlia Prado, Catherine Diamond, Sharon Richardson, Danny Weiss, Jonathan Itzhaki, Lisa Diane, Sam Geffner, Phyllis Third. We will also pray for healing for Ivan, Melvin, Patrice, Kevin, Maria and her sons, Jose Eduardo, Elisa, Diego, Edgardo.
Rejuvenate our life. Rejuvenate our Thank you for all these blessings throughout our days and nights. We celebrate the journey. The precious gift of life. The precious gift of life.
There are so many piyutim, liturgical poems, that are part of our inheritance for Yom Kippur, and one that we've just come to love so much is Ya'aleh. Ya'aleh meaning may our prayers ascend. And so now I'd like to call up Tom to sing this beautiful Piyut for us. And as he does, our prayers ascend, and in their rising, may they lift us to our best selves.
Ya'ale tachanunenu me'erev v'yavo shavatenu mi'boker v'yeroe rinunenu adorev. Yale kolenu me'erev v'yavo tzidkatenu mi'aboker v'yeroe fidyonenu adorev. Ya'ale inuyenu me'erev v'yavo slichatenu mi'aboker v'yeroe na'akatenu adorev. Ya'ale menuseinu me'erev v'yavo limano mi'aboker v'yeroe chipureinu adorev. Ya'ale yisheinu me'erev v'yavo tahareinu mi'aboker v'yeroe chinunenu adorev. Ya'ale zichronenu me'erev v'yavo v'yudenu mi'aboker v'yeroe hadratenu adorev. Ya'ale dovkeinu me'erev v'yavo gilenu mi'aboker v'yeroe bakashatenu adorev. Ya'ale enkatenu me'erev v'yavo eilecha mi'aboker v'yeroe eleinu adorev.
Thank you, Tom. So we're now arriving to that part of the service where we'll have a chance to enter into that speaking of the shadow that Rabbi Lou was talking about. In a few moments, we will begin our own confessions. I'd like to call Lisa and Adam up to open the Ark for us. Return to page 9. For the 13 attributes, as they're coming up, I'll just say a word about them, that the 13 attributes are kind of like a code word for the name of God that we use when we really need forgiveness. This name came to us when the children of Israel had made the golden calf and everything was a mess, and Moses went up to try to make things right. And in that encounter, received this name that we use now to unlock the heavenly gates of mercy, and to unlock those gates inside of ourselves as well. Please rise as the Ark is opened. Page 16. Ay, 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 Ashanu, bagadnu, gazanu, dibanu dovi. Ay, 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 ay. Evinu, v'hirshanu, zadnu, chamasnu, tafalnu sheker. Ay, 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 ay. infinite wisdom, eternal goodness. Yet we've insulted, we have jeered, we have killed, yes, we have lied. Sweep it out, throw it out, wipe it out, yes, clean it all out. Who are we? We're light and truth and infinite wisdom, eternal goodness. Yet we have mocked, we've neglected, we've oppressed, we have perverted. At our core we're light and truth and infinite wisdom, eternal goodness. Yet we have quarreled, we've been racist, we have stolen, yes, we have transgressed. Our real being is light and truth and infinite wisdom, eternal goodness. Yet we've been unkind, we've been violent, we've been wicked, we've been xenophobic. Sweep it out, throw it out, wipe it out, yes, clean it all out. Page 18, you can read with me out loud. For the sins we have committed before you through unsustainable living, through neglecting, blaming, and mistreating our loved ones, in becoming numb to human suffering, in our complacency, by failing to examine our privilege, by closing our hearts and hands to those in need. By judging others harshly, through tolerating in ourselves what we condemn in others, by giving in to despair, by believing lies and denying truth, through selfishness and greed, violence and hatred, by failing to care for the earth and future generations. These are genuine sins sent in by some of you into our anonymous sin collecting form on Google, I think. And I will read them now. If you're at home, you can listen, of course, but you can also write or speak out loud, especially if you're alone, whatever things are in your heart. I am sorry for not following through and spending time to connect with the people I want to be friends with or am friends with. I let being busy take over my life and be more important than nourishing these friendships. That my desire to support my children came out as nagging when I truly meant it as support. Yelling at my husband. wasting food because I buy too much or keep it too long, resentment of my parents' inadequacies decades ago, shame that I am not perfect, do not live up to illusions about how much I can do or be, over-intellectualizing about situations where feeling pain might be more compassionate, neglecting or shortening prayer times, reflection times, failing to take responsibility for what I can do, letting myself be overwhelmed by difficult emotions, failing to thank people who have taught me how to live wisely and faithfully, failing to ask for help when I need it, assuming people won't help me, lying and saying I don't need help, procrastinating when I feel overwhelmed by emotion, especially by fear or sadness, grief or resentment, failing to use the tools and techniques I actually have, which help me to be present and re-engage in the moment. My addiction to sugar, TV, and automobiles. Pretending that I didn't see the cat vomit. That I felt helpless when a friend was in need. I regret the ways I stand in my own way and keep myself from being the person I say I want to be. And here they go. They are done, these sins. They are no longer. They are in the past. They have no power. And they will soon be burned. But now they're just being torn to shreds for our final Ve'al Kulam here. Page 14, let's just take a moment to breathe here. And as we sing Avinu Malkeinu, I invite you to just reflect on what those things are inside of your own heart that you would like to be released from in this sacred day of forgiveness.
La la la
You may be seated. I'd like now to call up Zahava to lead us in Adon HaSlichot, and you can find the refrain to sing along with the chorus there on page 18.
First, I want to say Shana Tova, Gmar Chatima Tova to those of you who are here, and for those of you who are at home or wherever you are. Wow, we are here. We have a new wonderful Torah table. And Yom Kippur takes me back, of course, to home, my childhood. But it also takes me back to Or Shalom, to services. And as I was sitting here today, I'm thinking about the meaning of this day. And one word just comes to mind that sometimes I forget about. One word, and the word is Hineni. Here I am. And this word is really powerful because if we hear and we say the word Adon HaSlichot, we ask for mercy, we ask for forgiveness, we need to really be present. We need to really be connected to ourselves, to others. And for me, the word Hineni is really all about showing up for ourselves, every person for themselves, and then we can be showing up for others. And so many causes out there in the world that needs our attention. Hineni. So I'm going to ask you to repeat after me this word. Just say that. Hineni.
Hineni.
And I'm going to draw on, I think, what's his name said that? He said, Danny Brooks said to me, why not everyone stand up for Adon HaSlichot? It's so powerful. So let's, hi Danny, wherever you are, let's rise and let's do it with me. All right, I'm going to start, and Rabbi Katie, as usual, will join me. Adon HaSlichot בוחן לבבות גולה עמוקות דוברת צדקות חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו הדור בנפלאות ותיק בנחמות זוכר ברית אבות חוקר כליות חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו טוב ומטיב לבריות יודע כל נסתרות כובש עוונות לובש צדקות חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו חטאנו לפניך רחם עלינו מלא זכיות נורא תהילות סולל
be seated. And I'd like to call up Deborah Gerson to read for us, and as she does, she's going to be reading a piece called The Kaddish for Black Lives. And just want to offer this, this kavanah, the intention that this small piece is a tiny, tiny piece of a huge amount of teshuvah that our nation needs to do, to undertake to heal the wounds from our history of slavery and racism and ongoing systemic racism and injustice. And so this is a tiny piece of remembering that is part of our work on this day.
Creator of life, source of compassion, your breath remains the source of our spirit, even as too many of us cry out that we cannot breathe. Lovingly created in your image, the color of our bodies has imperiled our lives. Black lives are commodified, yet devalued, imitated but feared, exhibited but not seen. Black lives have been pursued by hatred, abandoned by indifference, and betrayed by complacency. Black lives have been lost to the violence of the vigilante, the cruelty of the marketplace, and the silence of the comfortable. We understand that Black lives are sacred, inherently valuable, and irreplaceable. We know that to oppress the body of the human is to break the heart of the divine. We yearn for the day when the bent will stand straight. We pray that the hearts of our country will soften to the pain endured for centuries. We will do the work to bind up the wounds, to heal the shattered hearts, to break the yoke of oppression. As the beauty of the heavens is revealed to us each day, may each day reveal to us the beauty of our common humanity. Amen.
Amen. In a moment, we will have a chance to recite the Kaddish, a prayer that we say in the presence of community, a prayer that is an obligation on a certain circle of close loved ones when they've lost somebody. But even though the obligation falls on the mourner, they can't fulfill that obligation without a community showing up and being there. And that's, I think of it as kind of an insurance policy that our ancestors gave to us, a way for us to seek one another out and provide support to one another in times of loss and grieving. So I will be reading for us now two lists. First, our list of yard sites, those loved ones who passed during the first half of September. Actually, we'll get to read tonight the first half, and then tomorrow the second half of September. I'll also be reading our Yizkor list of all of those loved ones who've passed since last year on at the High Holy Day season. If you're at home and you are remembering loved ones, you can put their names into the list, into the chat right now. Doris Kerman, Harry Miller, Leonard Levine, Margot Adair, Dale Gans, Ann Brooke, Dorothy Scala, Shirley Seligman, Russ Opper, Viola Golding, Sue Teller, Ruth Pleener, Michael Jacobs, Sarah Goldstein, Benjamin Agam, Laszlo Frankovich, Tzvi Agam, Peter Miguel Camejo, Gussie Schechter, Herman Hesch Schechter, Avigdor Ben Yehoshua Bella Brandstetter, Miriam Gallet, and Joseph Gallet. And since last year's High Holy Day season, the following loved ones have passed: Elaine Janis, Elsa Raven, Rebecca Braun, Gerald Newman, Jewel Burton Sr., Sandy Hudson, Joe Mandel, Leon Waxman, Herb Schneider, Dolores Hellman, Beth Bird, Daniel Axelrod, Alice Hamill, Harry Chesley, Robert Bernstein, John Gomes, Esther Rotzker Ben Ruby, Betty Garcia, Beverly Fine, Jerry Lynn Cohen, Igal Ben Yona Menachem, Frida Makarov, and Annie Borgenecht. Please rise if you're saying Kaddish. The words can be found on page 13. And for all of those who are remembering recent losses that have happened in this strange time of the pandemic, we offer particular prayers for comfort, that you may find the comfort and strength that you need, and that we may all be able to support one another as we remember our losses. Page 13. Yitgadal vid Kaddish Shema Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Hirute V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon Uvyomechon Uvchaye D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Ulalmei Almaya. Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shemei D'kudsha Parichu. La'ela u'la'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. You may be seated. I want to say a big thank you to everybody who was a part of things, especially to our amazing musical team and Allison for such an incredible rendering again of Kol Nidre. And just thank you everyone up here. Thank you for all of you who had different roles coming up and offering from your hearts, and just beautiful singing and words and presence. And thank you for all of our sound and camera crew for bringing it to those at a distance. Thank you. And to Lillian and Ben and our staff and volunteers and all of you leaders who you know who you are, who have just been essential support in this time, which is so challenging. So really, really thank you. And let me tell you what's coming. So tomorrow, our main service online will begin at 10:30, and in the evening, our Yizkor service, the particular service dedicated to remembering our lost loved ones, that begins at 6:30, followed immediately by Ne'ilah, the final closing of the gates, end of Yom Kippur service. And so I hope you can make it to both of those. If you have young children and want to come in person to our family service, it's at 9 o'clock. You do need to register for that. There are holidays after Yom Kippur that I want to just tell you about. Sukkot is following very close on the heels of Yom Kippur, and Or Shalom's Sukkot celebration will be Friday night, the 24th, not this Friday, but the next one. And we're going to be in person at Pine Lake, which is in the part of Stern Grove that did not get flooded. And it will be, we've been there a couple times before. So if you went to one of those outdoor services, that's the same place. It's a little fire pit with places to sit outside. It's perfect. And it'll be 5 o'clock on the 24th. And then the 28th online at 7:30 on Zoom will be Simchas Torah celebration with Or Shalom and Ner Tamid. I do want to also mention that, you know, we pray, and we'll pray tomorrow morning to Teshuvah, Tzedakah, Tefillah. All these things help us. Tzedakah is a big piece of the practice of this time. Not on Yom Kippur proper, but if you haven't yet given to some kind of hunger organization, I particularly urge you to do that, especially in honor of, you know, the fast that we get to choose as a spiritual practice, reminding us that so many people are fasting without choosing it, are going without food because of hunger. So we give particularly to those causes at this time of year. You can give to the food bank, you can give to Mazon, the Jewish anti-hunger organization, but please do make that part of your practice in this season. I think that's enough announcements, and let's get back to singing. So you can turn to page 12 for Adon Olam.
And you can dance if you like. Adon Olam, Hashem Allah, B'terem bo Yitzir Nivra, V'chet Nasa, V'chet Soko.
Shema.
like to invite everyone to stand. And we can turn to page 12 if you need the words for the closing benediction. I invite you to look around and find a particular person to send your blessing to. And if you're at home, you can do that in your space if you have others with you, or just send your blessing through the distance to a particular person in the community, maybe someone you can see or someone that you can't. But just, and yeah, I'm not going to encourage us to touch each other. If it happens, it happens.
Just makes me happy to see Zahapa dancing
It's
around.
so, yeah, or shalom, not hugging, it's very hard. All right. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. One more time. May the blessings of God rest upon you. May God's peace abide with you. May God's presence illuminate your heart now and forevermore. Good yontiv, everybody. Have an easy fast. If you are fasting, be gentle. Please don't fast if your body is not going to take it well. If it's going to cause you any harm, do not do it. But if you are fasting, I hope it goes smoothly and well. And see you tomorrow. Good yontiv, everybody.